So it seems Ja Morant's tenure with the Memphis Grizzlies is coming to a very ugly close, and unfortunately, we told you so. Now look, I understand when we dropped that video months ago, there were a lot of things about the Memphis Grizzlies that were up in the air. We didn't know if Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane were both coming back. Dillon Brooks had just left. There were a lot of things that we didn't know, but it's very clear that Ja Morant is just not happy with the Memphis Grizzlies. The most recent thing he said is that his joy is gone. No joy. Graphic up on the screen right now. That is how it feels to be a part of the Memphis Grizzlies. This comes after a 117-112 loss against the Los Angeles Lakers, where Luka Doncic went absolutely berserk, and Ja Morant only finished with 8 points. You had Blake Griffin on Amazon Prime saying that, for a star guy, for the leader of that Memphis Grizzlies, just the lack of enthusiasm and effort on the court from Ja Morant is not what you want to see from your leader when you're going to war. We've said it on the channel before. I'm going to say it again. Your troops are only going to fight as hard as their leader is. And if Ja Morant is not fighting hard for that team, are the Memphis Grizzlies going to fight hard in the playoffs for the rest of the regular season even? Probably not. Now, the thing that's really interesting is that the Memphis Grizzlies said that Ja Morant, there's not really a lot of demand for a guy in Ja Morant in the NBA in terms of where he could be traded to. And I think, honestly, there is some truth to that. I think in the last offseason, coming off of an injury, but seeing what he did before he got injured, I think Ja definitely could have went to a team like a Toronto. He could have went to numerous teams and had a great chance of getting a good deal and also being a part of a contender. But now, when we look at Ja Morant, I'm not going to say his options are spread thin, but there's not too many contenders that need him, right? I'm thinking about a Milwaukee Bucks. That's what I was thinking initially. But you have Ryan Rollins going off. Kuzma's contributing. You have Cole Anthony giving you good two-way action. They're probably not going to throw all of that away for Ja Morant and Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is a duo that could possibly last only for 1 to 2 years, because who knows how long Giannis is even going to stay in Milwaukee. He's hooping. He's doing incredible things right now. Shout out to Giannis. But he did say in 6 to 7 months, no pun intended, if the team is not where it should be, where he's not where he wants to be, he could be gone. Nothing is permanent in the NBA. And honestly, as a star, that's how you got to think, especially after seeing how Luka Doncic was done by the Dallas Mavericks. I digress, though. So you've got that Milwaukee option. We go down in the East. Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton's injured. It's probably not worth it trading Nembhard and Mathurin for a Ja Morant and Tyrese Halliburton duo. Doesn't really make much sense. Philadelphia has way too many guards, and you have VJ Edgecombe hooping, Tyrese Maxey hooping. You have Quentin Grimes hooping as a sixth man. You also have Jared McCain coming back probably January, February. You don't need Ja Morant. Boston's tanking for AJ. Indiana's also tanking for AJ. Atlanta Hawks have Trae Young. When we go down the list, the Orlando Magic could maybe use Ja Morant, but again, you already traded a lot of those younger pieces, KCP, Cole Anthony, etc., to get Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. So I don't know, especially seeing how Wagner's hooping, Banchero's getting his rhythm back. I don't know if you want to trade for Ja Morant unless the value is insanely low. We go to the West Coast. Thunder, they have their PG. The Rockets could maybe work in theory, but when we look at giving up Jabari Smith Jr., who's doing great defensively, probably giving up Adams, probably giving up Tari Eason, probably giving up picks, I don't think they want to do that, especially after they didn't give up too much draft capital, but you did give up the number 10 pick in the 2025 draft and 5 second-round picks, plus Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks for KD. I don't know if Ja Morant, even though he is a point guard, is the move to make, especially when you have Amen Thompson, not only who's a point guard, but also probably couldn't play the shooting guard as much because he does not have a crazy off-ball game in terms of being a pick-and-pop 3 threat. We look at the Warriors, no. We look at the Pelicans, no. We look at all of these teams, no matter where they are. The San Antonio Spurs already have De'Aaron Fox. The Sacramento Kings, they have too many guards, but you got Dennis Schroeder, Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook. You don't need that. The Utah Jazz, again, you got too many guards. You got Walter Clayton. You've got Ace Bailey, who's a big shooting guard. You got Keontae George, who's absolutely crushing it right now. You have Isaiah Collier. You have guards. When we really look at the NBA, Portland is too many guards. You've got Scoot. You've got Shaden. You've got Drew Holiday hooping. You've got Dame. When we look at teams, right, the only team that really probably could use Ja Morant is the Toronto Raptors. You got Grady Dick and Emmanuel Quickley. I remember we ran this trade months ago, and we said, look, this is probably the move that Ja Morant needs to make. You have the Miami Heat, but now it's, who are you going to give up? Are you going to give up Tyler Hero, possibly Norman Powell, maybe picks to get Ja Morant and Bam Adebayo as a duo? How strong do you think those two are? In an Eastern Conference that's wide open, they could do some things, but also Ja Morant hasn't shown a ton of tangible improvement to his game and his toolkit as a guard in the NBA. And some of that just is also with reps, and some of that I think is also mental, right? When you're a guy in an environment where you don't feel valued and you also don't feel like you're going to grow and really be nurtured, not nurtured in terms of of going soft on him, but nurtured in terms of your needs being met and nurtured in terms of the front office caring about you and seeing you as a person just as much as a player and having your back. If you don't feel like you're in that environment, are you going to play your best? No. But it's also a thing of if you're tanking your draft value or your trade capital value, I should say, excuse me, are you even going to go to the place where you are going to get your joy back? It really depends. So Ja Morant is in a really weird place right now because he probably does need to be traded from this Memphis Grizzlies team. He might just be over the front office, over the coaching changes, over the lack of success, over the lack of another big star with him. I know Durant was in the mix. He's probably just tired of the Memphis train of doom, right? You know, in 2021, you beat the Golden State Warriors in the play-in tournament, go take the Utah Jazz to 5 games. But it's like, oh, Ja, JJJ, Dillon Brooks, okay, we got something right here. 2022, he gets injured, but you take the Golden State Warriors, who then won the chip to 6 games, dropped 47 in a playoff game. You're like, okay, I can build off this. 2023, just suspensions, injuries. 2024, don't make the playoffs again. You got injury, suspension. Now it's like, okay, what are we really doing here? You're in 2025 season. The front office kind of openly said they don't like you that much. Desmond Bane is gone. Dillon Brooks is gone. That was the heart of Memphis culture, specifically Dillon Brooks. What do you do if you're Ja Morant? That's the question he's going to have to ask himself, and that's the question the Memphis Grizzlies are going to have to ask themselves as well, because that's the problem with Ja Morant. There's not really a solution for him where he's 100% happy. They're probably not going to send him to a team like a Miami where maybe he does want to play, but also from Miami's perspective, how much are you giving up? Are the Grizzlies going to command Jaime Jaquez Jr., who's now hooping for the Miami Heat? I don't think so. You've got the Toronto Raptors, but the taxes are crazy. You also just have things about, you know, is Ja going to be happy going from Memphis to Toronto? I'm not sure. The Raptors themselves are also a team that doesn't necessarily have a guard problem, but they do have a 3-headed snake problem. Head to the BoxInOne Instagram and TikTok. Beautiful graphic by Rois here on the screen that just kind of explains that when you have Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and RJ Barrett, all these kind of 6'7" to 6'9" guys who do different things, but all kind of do the same things, but it's no true number one. Is getting a team with Ja Morant and RJ Barrett the solution, plus those other guys and Jakob Poeltl, etc.? I'm not sure. Ja Morant is in a really weird spot because he doesn't have a team that necessarily really needs him, and he doesn't have a team he's playing on right now that he wants to be needed by. So it's just a huge situation that, you know, we're going to continue to monitor. But in general, it's just like he's kind of stuck because it's like darned if you do, darned if you don't. If you go somewhere else and start winning, okay, great. But where is that? Because not a lot of teams really need a guy like you. Again, Milwaukee would have been my number 1 pick, but Ryan Rollins stepped up, Kuzma stepping up, and Giannis is happy with who he has right now. Cole Anthony stepping up. I don't think you need to trade those pieces for Ja Morant. And I also just think when you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, you got to ask yourself, what is your timeline here? Because you got Gigi Jackson, Scottie Pippen Jr., you got Brandon Clark, you've got Zach Edey, you've got a lot of young guys, you got Santi Aldana, but it's like, what is your timeline? Are you trying to be a contender? Are you trying to rebuild, tank, get young talent and stars, get somebody like a Darren Peterson, maybe if you do move Ja Morant for trade picks and maybe package some of those guys to get a top 5 pick this year in this coming NBA draft class? I don't know. You have to ask yourself those questions and then go from there, right? Because it really depends if you want draft capital back for Ja, if you want to keep Ja, tank, and then trade him for a potential top 5, top 3 draft pick after the lottery. It really depends what both teams want to do. But like we said, it's going to be a situation we continue to monitor, but it's unfortunate because the problem with Ja Morant is just it's kind of unsure what he even really should do going forward. With that being said, though, guys, that is going to do it for us today. Again, as always, if you enjoyed the BoxInOne content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. A little bit caught up with school, all of us, but daily videos should be returning to the channel, and let us know in the comments what type of players and what type of content you want to see us cover. We're going to cover the 2026 draft class, both for men's and women's, now that college basketball is also back in session. There's so much basketball going on. There's so much sports in general. Dodgers just won the World Series, but you got NHL, you got NFL about to reach that playoff push. You got the NBA coming back and being very good so far. So many standouts from this season. Daily uploads on the TikTok and Instagram for the podcast as well. And again, as always, as I said before, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications. Follow all of our socials in the description for more BoxInOne and also more Marcus, more Chad, more Joachim, more Rois, more Samajai, more Daniel, and more Sean episodes on the Spotify as well for the BoxInOne pod. For the last time, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will see you all in the next one.